Jared Goff, he signed a 4-year, $212 million extension with the Detroit Lions, with $170 million of that guaranteed. This makes Goff the second highest paid quarterback in the league, making about $53 million a year. The Lions have spent over $400 million on only 3 players. Goff making this massive contract. Penei Sewell, their tackle, making $120 million over 4 years, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown making 4 years, $112 million. They signed a lot of guys in this offseason, or they spend it for large sums of money, spending a lot of money. This is crazy. But I want to know, how far do you think, since the Lions locked up Goff for the foreseeable future, how far do you think that they can go with Goff as their quarterback?
NFC Championship last year, so I think the expectation is they get back there and perhaps make it to the Super Bowl. That's their goal for sure. I mean, they put the money where their mouth is, and they've locked up 3 players that they consider cornerstone players. I think Goff, I think it was a smart move actually on their part. You look at what they've done; they've locked up the players that they think can help them get to the Super Bowl, compared to what Dallas has done. Dallas has been sitting on the sidelines watching the prices go up, 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 up. I mean, it's going to be very interesting how this contract with Goff sets the bar for Dak Prescott. I think either he gets a contract that supersedes it, or he winds up a free agent, one or the other. There's no in between there. He's going to have to wind up with a very similar contract, unless he decides to give Dallas a discount. But why would he do that? No players ever do that anymore. So I think the Lions didn't want his contract and possible free agency to be an issue or a distraction. They want to build, on a breakthrough season that they had last year. He's the highest Lion and a paid Lion in franchise history. He's been one of the best quarterbacks the last 2 years, particularly starting halfway through, not last year, but the year before. He really stepped up. He didn't have really any mistakes in the second half of that year, almost got him to the playoffs. Last year, 67.3%, almost 4,600 yards, 30 TDs, 12 interceptions, a 97.9 rating. That's pretty good. 12-5 record. First Lions playoff appearance in 32 years. Beat the LA Rams in the first round, 24-23, which was a great game. We watched that game. I really loved that. That was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal game. Beat Tampa Bay, but lost to the 49ers. I think some of those that loss to the 49ers you could pin on Dan Campbell, but we won't get into that here.
Your favorite coach.
The cornerstone players, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's the second highest paid receiver in the league, and Penei Sewell is the highest paid player at his position. A $53 million average annual salary, second highest paid only to Burrow. Goff's been with them since 2021. That was a great trade for the Lions.
Yeah.
They wound up with 2 first-round picks in addition to Goff, who's played as well or maybe even better than Stafford. Although Stafford did win a Super Bowl. We got that.
Oh, yeah. No,
so the Rams, I'd say the Rams.
I got the comparison down.
The Rams, I feel like both teams feel like they got good value in that trade.
They should.
The Lions got Jameson Williams, a wide receiver, and Jamar Gibbs, a running back, with those first-round picks. And then the third rounder, they got a McNeil, a defensive tackle. He was the first-round pick and the first number 1 pick in 2016 by the Rams out of California. And his third year, they went to the Super Bowl, got beat by the Patriots 13-3. So
yeah,
I think it was a smart move on the Lions' part. I like Jared Goff. As an 8-year veteran, he's right where he needs to be.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well,
with a $200 million contract,
well, yeah,
how could he be?
Now it's $200 million, but I think we got to remember, we got to put context around just Jared Goff even being with Detroit. He was used as sort of just a contractual, get rid of a stopgap or a placeholder until the Lions go find the next quarterback. And then they're like, oh, snap. The guy could actually play quarterback at a pretty high level. And he kept winning and winning and winning, so much so that Goff actually helped Detroit get to, in the past 2 seasons, win the most amount of games they've ever had in two straight seasons at 21 wins. So he's doing stuff that the Lions really haven't seen at all. First division title in like 30 years. First playoff appearance in 32 years. First playoff win in 30-something years.
32 years.
Nearly made the Super Bowl. They were dominating the 49ers at halftime, and then all of a sudden, Dan Gamble appeared at the worst inopportune times. And lo and behold, here we are again. 2024 now headed into with Jared Goff making a large sum of money. But yeah, this is impressive all around. I think he deserved this. He's a top 10 quarterback, hands down, through and through. But yeah, let's talk about that trade now, which was back in January 2021, where the Lions got Jared Goff in exchange for Matthew Stafford and a bunch of other pieces. But those were obviously the two main pieces. Let's compare the two quarterbacks, because now we talk. You brought up Dak Prescott, and I do think Dak Prescott has the leverage in his situation because it's the Cowboys. Really, it's only the Cowboys. Dak has not really played himself into being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But I do think it just because it's the Cowboys and they can't make any contractual decision correctly. Just look at Ezekiel Elliott. I guarantee you, the Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb, that's already screwed up. You're already going to pay them way more than you have to. And now Dak Prescott, you're now on round 2 of having to pay him more instead of giving him the extension before his contract is up, a year or two before it's up. But let's compare now the two quarterbacks between Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, because while we think Jared Goff, because we saw him with the Rams lose to the Patriots and the Rams kicked him out the door, just how good has he been? Well, he's Matthew Stafford. We can now basically say he's Matthew Stafford. Yes, he has 11 fewer yards per game, but he has more touchdowns, fewer picks, higher pass rating, higher completion percentage, and the same amount of wins since that trade happened. They are essentially the same quarterback. Here's the only problem, though. One had a top 3 defense and won the Super Bowl against an offensive line that didn't exist against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the other one has had no defense for 3 straight years. Now, it is improving year after year after year, but Jared Goff has suffered with one of the worst defenses, at least passing-wise, in the NFL for the past couple seasons. He himself has played perfectly fine because, once again, he is Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford was able to win a Super Bowl, but they had Cooper Kupp. And when they had Aaron Donald defensively, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, they were able to win. Even Jalen Ramsey they had.
Odell Beckham. So as long as you had that defense, I guarantee you Jared Goff would have been perfectly fine, which they actually had at some moments this season. They had Jack Campbell. You also had a pretty, at least name-wise, decent secondary. Brian Branch, great draft pick. I actually had him high in the first round. I forgot who I had him drafted to, but I had him pretty high in the first round. And then the Lions picked him up. He got a pick 6 week 1 last season against Mahomes that kind of, won them that game. So the Lions are improving year after year. So now you lock up a definite franchise quarterback, top 10 quarterback in the league. And we have to remember, what was CBS Sports power rankings of quarterbacks? He's 13th. 13th in the power rankings. That's way too low. He should be above Tua, who in cold weather, he's a horrible quarterback. Aaron Rodgers coming back from an Achilles injury. And Jordan Love, we've seen one good half of a season. That's it. He's a top 10 quarterback. I honestly put Dak Prescott at 11, move Goff maybe even up above Justin Herbert, who did not have a good year last year. I would definitely say at least Goff is a top 9 quarterback in the league. I agree. I think he is ranked too low.
And there is some obviously discrepancies. Brock Purdy, once again, we get debate.
I mean, he got farther into the playoffs than Jordan Love did.
Right. Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers didn't even play last year. So how can you put those guys ahead of Goff?
Potential. I don't understand why Rodgers. I think they're just projected. Even though, according to them, actually, they said right now, not at the end of 2024, 2025, but right now. So I don't know how you could judge Rodgers on right now when he played a total of 75 seconds of football. He played 4 plays.
I know.
Top 11 quarterback. I don't know.
That ranking, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
And that's some funny picks
there's
in
a couple.
there.
There's a couple
ranking these rookie quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks up there in the high 20s when they haven't even played a snap yet in the NFL. Very different league than playing in college.
Right. So, I mean, you could have a problem with that. I find it interesting that the next guy we're going to talk about, actually, Drake May, isn't even on here. Jacoby Brissett, they projected as the starter. So, I think it's weird. But good for the Lions. Lock up your franchise guy for the next couple of years. I think you made it to they made it to the NFC Championship game last season. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but if you basically have the same team, you lost, I think, Josh Reynolds. That's a decent piece to lose. But you have your main playmakers there already. Sam
this year, this coming year has got to be their year to really try.
Well, not only that, because the 49ers, they're in win now mode. everybody's getting older. Contracts are coming up. You got to pay a lot of people. People are aging. The 49ers are in win-now mode.
I think the Lions have to be, too. They made it to the NFC Championship game. They lost a game that they could have won. I think there's some coaching decisions there that were very questionable.
I agree with you there.
Maybe they learned something from that. They get back to that game. They have a good chance to win it, I think. And that would be historic for Detroit. It would cement those guys as legends, some of them, on that team if they made it to the Super Bowl and won it.
Well, I think Jared Goff would finally get his revenge on just the NFL.
They haven't had a championship before the Super Bowl was begun.
They've never made it to a Super Bowl.
They never made it to a Super Bowl.
I believe so. They've never made it to. They made it to what? Was it AFL championship or what?
No, it wasn't AFL. They were never AFL. They won an NFL.
The old NFL.
They won an NFL championship in 1957, I think. 1957. Check it. I'm pretty sure that's the last time they won a championship.
1957. Yeah. That's utterly ridiculous. They've won 4 championships actually over the course of their
the last one was 1957.
The last one was 1957.
There
correct.
You go. See? I knew that.
Can you guess the quarterback?
Was it Bobby Lane?
Yeah.
Hey, pretty
there
good.
You go.
Huh?
History buff over here. So yeah, there you go. 1957. But since then, they've never even made it to another. They've never made it to a Super Bowl ever in their entire history since the Super Bowl happened. So
I
Jared
think the
Goff
interesting
could do that.
part of this is, and I think
Dak Prescott's going to be calling up Jared Goff and saying congratulations, because I think you just iced a big contract for him. Maybe not this year, but when in free agency.
Yeah,
I think he and Trevor Lawrence, they're the next ones up.
Well,
they're
also
probably
Tua as well. He's a part of that
Tua
group.
and Jordan Love.
Right?
I do
is
think
the massive
you
question.
think Jordan Love and Tua, do you expect them to get over $50 million a year?
I think Tua will. Jordan Love, we've seen one season, and it wasn't a bad season. It half of the season, the first half was ugly.
First half was ugly,
and then the second half, we're like, oh, this guy could play. And then in the playoffs, you go up against the Cowboys, and you're just dissecting that defense like it's no other. Dak Prescott screwed at that point. He also had a couple self-inflicting wounds in that game. But by the half, they scored 1 touchdown with 12 seconds remaining in the half? So basically, that game was done with. Jordan Love could sit on the bench for the rest of the game, and they would have won that game hands down.
Yeah.
So we've seen one half, and a little bit more than a half of a season where Jordan Love plays well. That's the massive question mark.
He played well in the second playoff game, too, right?
It was rainy, had an opportunity to win.
He had an opportunity to win it.
Brock Purdy should have thrown a couple interceptions. He got away with a number of interesting plays. Even was the Brandon Ayuk crazy catch? Was that against the Lions? It was like a ricochet catch.
Yes,
that was against the Lions.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But hey, good job for Jared Goff. Good job for the Lions. You got to rebuild that defense though. That defense needs a lot of work, and maybe this year we'll see a pretty damn good Lions team. Who, by the way, last year I picked them to win the division. I'm picking them to win again. I think that's a safe bet. The Lions, it's crazy to say, just based on history, to say that the Lions are here to stay for a long time. It hasn't been, since the 90s where they've been a powerhouse with Barry Sanders?
That was one of the reasons I didn't always pick them during the season last year, because the consistency issue.
Right.
They never have been consistent.
Yeah. Even with Megatron, you didn't really do much. You had Matt
I thought
Stafford
they
and
would be
Megatron.
inconsistent last year, but they 12-5. That's pretty consistent.
Same record as the Cowboys, same record as the 49ers.
Yeah.
It was the second best record in the NFL. Baltimore went 13-4. I'm saying that they're here to stay for. I'm gonna just throw this out here. They're gonna come. They are a strong contender to win the NFC. Be the number 1 seed in the NFC, and I think honestly, depending if everybody's healthy.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what we'll have to look at their schedule.
Schedule comes out tomorrow, actually. So we'll talk about that later on in the week. But good for the Lions, good for Jared Goff. And Dak Prescott, he just got an ace of spades handed to him right now. He's got a full house. So good for him.